Hey, what's up, guys? So, if you watched my last review on episode 62 of My Hero Academia, haha, fooled you. This is the last episode of season 3 of My Hero Academia, and it's confirmed that they're working on season 4. So, as the last episode brought up a lot of mystery for the new villain coming up, we actually don't get a whole lot of him in this episode. He's just at kind of the very end. But the bulk of this episode is focused on Shadowcat Tintin, as I called him in my last review. His name is Mirio, so now I'm going to call him Shadowcat Mario. But anyway, the bulk of the episode is kind of focused on him, kind of showing instead of telling the students about what to expect from the work study, I guess you could say. Leaving the door to be open for looking forward to what the other top three, the blue-haired girl and then Sasuke, for what they're capable of. So Eraserhead says to introduce themselves, and Sasuke's like so nervous, and he's got this look, and he's creeping everybody out, and he just can't even utter a word. And then the freaking blue-haired girl's just like asking everybody all these questions, and he's like, "Hey, Froppy, you're a tree frog, not a toad, right?" And then Mineta, of course, he's freaking perving out over her, and she asks him about his hair. "How do you cut your ball hair?" He's like, "She asked about my balls." Oh man, that always gets me every time. But they basically, we go on to Shadowcat Mario, and he basically says, "Okay, well, I need to like spar. Let's have a sparring match." And Eraserhead is okay with it, I guess. So everybody gets suited up. They go to this training arena or whatever you want to call it, and he's just strips. And everybody's like, "What the heck?" And Earphone Jack Girl is just freaking out. Hilarious stuff. But anyway, he shows off initially what he's capable of and just like pops under the ground. They think he's kind of teleporting or warping, whatever, and he pops up behind them and just like basically annihilates them with ease, you know? And he's like, "Okay, well, there's all the long distance guys, you know." They try to put up a decent fight, but I think they're just too unfamiliar with his quirk and also just inferior to his all-out skills. And they're just wiped out in an instant, you know, gut punch, gut punch. Like, is that all you can do, is just punch them in the stomach? Like, is that, because later on he goes into his quirk and how much he needs to rely on prediction and stuff like that. Like, is that the extent of his attacking capability? Like, what if he can't punch somebody? What if there's somebody with a quirk where they don't have a midsection? But anyway, whatever. So I think this scene was really awesome in hyping up how skilled this guy is. He just knocks out half the class just like that, and he's just like a couple years their senior. So, I mean, this shows like how valuable the work study is, and also later on he explains how much hard work he's put into his skills and becoming like the number one of the high school, basically. And I like this a lot as it brings in another step or goal for the main characters to overcome, you know. It shows how big of a gap there is between even the same students at the same school, you know. Like, these first years, however much they have progressed, they still have a long way to go. And it just gives them more incentive and more motivation to even push themselves even further. So he goes after the other half of the class, and he tries the same tactic again. Like, they're still trying to kind of figure his quirk out, so it's slightly understandable as to why most of them are so caught off guard or surprised at what he's doing. But he pops up behind them again, and Midoriya is the only one that kind of predicts and figures it out. Now, I understand that it's kind of hyping Midoriya up again, which I don't feel that we really need more hype for Midoriya. I think it would have been cool if at least one of the other students predicted this, since, you know, Shadowcat Mario already did that once before against the other half of the class. So you would think that at least another one of the students would say, "Okay, he's trying this tactic again, so he's going to pop up behind us," you know? I feel like that was kind of a predictable thing to do, even the first time he did it. I mean, that's kind of a simple tactic. Just pop up behind your enemy. I feel like that's an easy tactic to predict. But then afterwards, they're like, "Oh, he was great at prediction. He predicted that I would go behind them." And I'm like, that's like the most predictable move you could possibly do. And literally nobody else predicted it? Come on. And I feel like it's just another thing to show how special Midoriya is and how much better than everybody Midoriya is becoming. And he's better at predicting everything. Just like a few episodes ago when they were trying to solve the bank robbery and Midoriya was literally the one that figured out literally everything. And there was like no point to any of the other characters. But whatever. So Shadowcat Mario ends up defeating them and then going on this giant exposition dump on how his powers work and how he zips under the ground and uses it to propel himself back up through the ground to where he wants to go, and how difficult it is to control and how he's had to push himself so far and practice and use his predictive mind to kind of make up for certain aspects of his quirks. So that's really cool stuff there. And it's showing the other students that, hey, if you're at the bottom now, just keep working hard and you will see the results of your hard work, so to speak. And then they're like, oh, well, you could have just explained this in like a minute instead of going through this elaborate, battle with us. But that would have been way less interesting. We wouldn't have had this cool fight. So we kind of go through the aftermath of this fight, and we see Bakugo taking everybody's trash, which is freaking hilarious. And also, hair down Momo is the best Momo. But anyway, we kind of go to Midoriya calling Gran Torino, and he's trying to find, somebody for his work study because he didn't have any sponsors or connections from the sports festival. So, but obviously he has All Might as a connection. Like All Might knows all kinds of heroes. Like that's probably the best connection you could ever ask for, I would say. So anyway, we get some build up for the new villain, kind of more mystery for who this guy is. He's getting introduced to the League of Villains by Twice, that like film noir guy from the last episode. Who seems pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to what he can do too. And obviously there's some mystery surrounded by this Beak guy. I forgot his name again. If you want to remind me in the comments, please remind me of his name. I forget these guys' names, which is why I come up with their freaking nicknames so often, which is also really fun to do. But something I may be even more curious than the Beak villain is scientist guy and green girl with mask, who seem to have been following Beak guy around. They seem to be some sort of like info gathering special ops unit or something like that, who have been following the Beak villain around, and now he's joined with the League of Villains. Oh no. And I feel like it's almost just as much mystery as the last episode left off, and part of me feels that the last episode would have been a more effective final episode to season 3. But obviously, what do you guys think? Because I feel like it left it at more of a cliffhanger instead of having this episode, which really not a whole lot of things happened. Like Beak villain joined with the League of Villains, and it was just their very initial meeting, so nothing progressed there really. And then it was just showing off Shadowcat Mario and his skill and a giant exposition dump from him and a really cool fight. And then the students were still kind of preparing for their work study, which they were doing in the last episode for the most part. So I almost feel like this would have been a more effective first episode to the season. But obviously, what do you guys think? But at any rate, I believe that sums up my thoughts for the episode. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching. Don't forget to rate, share, and subscribe, and take it easy.